So welcome everybody to the planning committee. Zoom, particular welcome to Andy and Andy. I thought Pat, hello. I thought Pat Stubbs is also joining us, but we'll just say. Right. I'm afraid we have a massive amount on the agenda and some quite weighty things. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to be draconian about timings during this meeting. Right. So we start with the open session. So which of you, Andy, which of you, anybody wish to go first? I'll try and keep a maximum of 3 minutes, given the given the pressures on the time. And just to say that I am intending to bring the item on Ramsden Road further up the agenda. So if you wish to hear the discussion, you won't need to sit through a very long period. But also to say that when we are discussing it, it's not possible for members of the public to speak at that point. So in your 3 minutes now, try and remember everything that you've got to say. So perhaps I'll make a decision. So let's go with Andy Wilson first, as you were first here.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Andy Wilson. I live on Brownhill Lane and have done for about 45 years now, so I think I know the area quite well. And clearly tonight I just want to talk about Ramsden Road and all the connected roads to it. I hope that you've all seen what I've sent in previously, and I've actually sent more in light of what we found out from Kirklees now. So it's really just highlighting 1 or 2 issues from that, and I'll try not to go over 3 minutes.
Thank you.
A couple of positive things for me. Firstly, that they seem to now realise that this isn't just about Ramsden Road, it's all the interconnected roads as well, and that's quite pleasing. I mean, I'm also quite pleased that they've actually recognised now that there is a physical exclusion needed for these vehicles. I'm afraid at that point I've run out of good news, I think, and I've got lots of buts. I mean, the first one is there's absolutely no mention of any repairs to these roads. Are in desperate need of doing, to the point of being, in my opinion, unsafe. They still talk about allowing 4x4s and trail bikes, and presumably quad bikes as well, access to these roads. And I'm afraid they're just not suitable for that sort of vehicle, and certainly not in the numbers that we get now. They don't address any of the loss of amenity. So the things that walkers and equestrians and cyclists are losing because of the activity of these people, they'll carry on. And it doesn't seem to address any environmental or pollution issues either. Seems strange to me that if you go back far enough, and Andy Leader will have more details than I have, but they've previously recognised that they needed to put a TRO in place. Now, I know they've managed to make a mess of those applications, but it now seems as though they've changed their mind and that they've got a different solution to a TRO. Personally, I failed to see that. And again, I'm no expert on these things, but I have looked at TROs and I have looked at the PSPO that they're putting forward. And it's my belief that a TRO would be a much better solution than the solution they're putting forward. A TRO seems to be absolutely tailor-made for this issue. Every point of the TRO seems to fit the bill. They're well proven, and I mean they've been widely used by other authorities and shown to work. So I do wonder why we're going away from that. So just summing all that up, my request to the parish council is still the same. I'd like you to formally request that a TRO be instigated on this route. And further to that, I think it now needs an emergency one, which I believe is a TTRO. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, because I think there's some immediate action needs to take place to correct the repairs that's wanted now. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't overrun.
Not much, Andy. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Right, Andy Leader.
Hi, thank you very much. I'd echo what Andy Wilson's just said, and I think that report that he's put in is excellent, and he really captures what's going wrong up there and what needs doing. The current public space protection order, it's aimed only at antisocial behaviour. It only partially restricts 4x4 access and it seems to be reliant on a voluntary 4x4 members group to manage the whole thing. It doesn't restrict motorbikes. They'll still have access at all times of day and night. The one thing that Kirklees have overlooked, which may lead to this order being challenged, is horse-drawn vehicles. Now, the horse-drawn vehicles were the original vehicles that established vehicular rights on here. They're not mentioned in any of this, but if they gate and lock the lane, they'll not be able to get in. The public space protection order will continue to permit 4x4 use of all the lanes along with motorbikes. Now, Kirklees officers have previously been of the view that such legitimate legal use of the lanes causes severe damage, and I've got that in several emails from Rob Dalby, who's dealing with this. They're on the record with it, and this was the motivation and purpose for the failed 2018 closure order and a previous 2009 cabinet decision to close the road. So there's no real logic to what they're doing now, because as long as there's vehicles on those unsealed roads, they'll cause damage and water erosion. So I'm, again, wondering, asking if the parish council, I mean, I don't think we'll stop this process at the moment, but could the parish council ask Kirklees to place a full TRO on the lanes, as it's the only legislation that fully addresses antisocial behaviour, damage by legal usage on unsustainable surfaces, a negative impact on the amenity area to residents from vehicles. Kirklees can close this lane with a temporary closure order under the Road Traffic Act. In the meantime, they only need to give 7 days notice and they could close it completely to vehicles. And can the parish council secondly ask Kirklees to undertake full repairs to Ramsden Road and the Yeatonia lanes as soon as possible? Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks very much. I'm going to ask if we've lost Pat. Oh, she's back. If members of the committee agree to us to suspend standing orders, and if we wish to ask you questions, okay. Can I just ask? Show of hands. Thank you. Okay, that's unanimous, right? So do any of the members of the committee wish to ask either of the Andys any questions at this point? Michael.
You're muted, Michael.
Muted.
Are those roads, are they actually adopted? Are the Kirklees are they adopted by Kirklees?
Yeah, 2 of them are byways open to all traffic, and the rest of them are on the adopted street register, but they're unmade, they're completely unsurfaced.
I recognise they're unmade, but some
Yeah.
will be not in Kirklees ownership, and some of them will be in Kirklees ownership.
They're all in Kirklees ownership, all of them.
Okay.
I'd add also that the vast majority of the route is in the Peak District National Park.
Yeah.
Paul. Councillor Dixon.
Concern I've got, a lot of these 4x4 vehicles that are going on the road, are they roadworthy? Are they licensed? Have they got road fund licenses? Because if they haven't, it should be the case of the police, not anybody else, that should be dealing with these unscrupulous people. We have them going in droves past our house and just going up the old lane up to the top of Tinker's Monument regular way. And it's quad bikes as well, but mainly 4x4s, and there's lots of them. And if people want to do that for fun, they should go on walking and things like this. And I think it's the police that should be monitoring this, and this be treated as an offence, and these people be prosecuted. If we do, like I think Andy suggested, getting the roads, work done on the roads and surfacing and one thing and another, I think that's just going to increase the amount of traffic you'll get going through Homewood. I know it well. I remember walking it as a lad when I was fit to walk, but it's a long time ago. But when I had a decent 4x4, I used to go. I've been known to drive through that way, and I didn't think it was, if treated properly, it wasn't a problem. But it's these people that just treat it as if it's a racetrack. Whatever we can do to stop them, if we put a gate up and stop it part way through, it will affect the local farmers and one thing and another who'll probably travel that distance, moving livestock about and one thing and another.
Sorry, Paul, have you got a specific question for the Andys?
The question I want to really put is, should we be should the police be prosecuting these people? Should we be encouraging Kirklees to upgrade the roads? Because if they upgrade them, I think they're going to get more people, and I think I'm concerned that might be a problem.
Yeah, Andy Leader.
Yeah, the police have been up there and they've given out tickets to people for breaking the COVID restrictions. But I mean, they've got a lot on, haven't they? And
it didn't just go COVID, Andy. I'm concerned about these people being fined for having vehicles that weren't roadworthy or road tested or whatever.
well, at the moment it's just COVID. But the idea is if you put a traffic regulation order on, you'll barrier the whole thing off, and you wouldn't repair the road until that had been done. And you'd only repair it to a minimum standard for walkers, cyclists, and horses. Not not something really fancy.
Right, Michael's got a question. Thanks.
Could I just come in on Paul's question?
Sorry. Yes, of course, Andrew.
I think partly what you're saying is correct, Paul, but I see two issues here. There's one of the illegal activity that's going on, and yes, that clearly falls into the police to deal with that. And it's a whole mixture of things, untaxed, unMOT'd, unregistered vehicles, clearly very illegal. They're going off the road altogether. Illegal, no question about it. But the other aspect is the what we might call the legal people that are going around there. Now, whilst they're not doing anything strictly wrong, the very fact that they're driving on these roads and in the numbers that they're driving on them, it's just unsustainable. The roads just aren't good enough to sustain that. So you've got a mixture of things going on there. Now, if we had a TRO with barriers, I think the police would find it a lot easier to deal with the illegal activity. As it stands now, if you saw a group of off-road vehicles, which I do every night, you've no idea whether they are legal or illegal, and neither have the police until they do something wrong. So it's a very difficult policing problem as it stands. I think it would be much easier if there were RO in place.
Thank you, Andy. Just Councillor Pogson had a question, but we'll need to draw this item to a close in a couple of minutes. Thanks.
He's muted.
If a TRO was placed on those roads, would that restrict all vehicular access, or motorised vehicular access? Is that what we're looking at? And how would that affect the fishing club, Yorkshire Water, Mountain Rescue, if they wanted to access that to help in, or other emergency services, or any other landowners or people leasing land around there? How would that affect them?
It wouldn't, other than they'd have to unlock a gate to get in. They'd still have the right of access. Everyone with a private right could still use it. It's the public vehicles that would be excluded.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Pat. I think we're about to finish this item. If you just give us 2 minutes of input, if you wish to speak.
Me, Patricia. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I should have double checked the time. I assumed it was 7. I do apologise for being late. I mean, you've probably covered everything. I don't know where you've got to in your discussion or thinking about the inadequacy of the public space protection order, but I expect the two Andys have covered it. I mean, I think the key thing is it's not going to reduce the volume, and so it's not going to reduce the impact on non-vehicle users, and it's not going to stop the damage.
Thank you. Right. I'm really sorry to hurry things along like this, but we have got a massive agenda and very little time. So I really appreciate you you're coming. You're welcome to stay. Members of the public are welcome to stay. Or go. It's entirely up to you. So we're going to move now to the next item on the agenda, which is this meeting is being recorded. So do any members of the public present wish to record the meeting separately? Oh, thank you. Right. Apologies for absence. Item 136. Apologies for absence.
Mary, could we bring the item of Ramsden Road forward after you've taken the apologies?
Yes, I was going to bring it up after we've done all this. I was going to put it before the minutes of the previous meeting.
Fine. Okay.
So, it won't take us long to get there, about 2 minutes, I think. Apologies for absence from
Councillor Gould.
Councillor Gould. Thank you. Any members or officers' personal or pecuniary, disclosable pecuniary interest in any items on the agenda? Has anybody got any?
I've got one planning application, and I'm just trying to find it, and I can't.
Okay, well, let us know, Paul, when you found it. I've got to record.
It's one that's also wrongly listed because it's been listed for Rachel.
Yeah, and it's
one of yours, Mary.
It's ours. I know. I
Yes.
spotted that one. Yes.
And do you know whose house it is, Mary?
No, I don't know who.
You don't know whose property it is.
I don't know whose house.
You do know the man.
Right.
It's called Robert Dixon.
Oh, right. Berry Green
Yes.
Barn, number 18.
Yeah.
18. So you're declaring an interest in number
I
18.
better.
You're better, yes. I'm declaring an interest in number 13 because I slightly know the owners. Any more? You all right, Pat? Right. So have there been any written requests for new DPI dispensations? No. Right. And item 139. Should any items on the agenda be discussed in private? No. Right. That's right. Let's. So I'm going to ask members of the committee if they're happy for us to reorder the agenda somewhat to take the item on item 148 on Ramsden Road. Can we take that now? Yes. Just show. Thank you. Okay. I think that's unanimous.
I'm not for it tonight. Hey, I've got it. I've been talking half an hour. It's been open half an hour, this meeting.
The clerk mind muting Councillor Dixon.
Right. Welcome, Tom. Right. We've just agreed to move the item on Ramsden Road up the agenda so that members of the public can leave after that. So just open the floor for councillors to make comments. Rachel, Councillor Hobley.
Yeah, I just want to say obviously we got sent a report by Rob Dolby on the rationale behind using a public space protection order, which was pretty comprehensive and explained the the system that would be put in and the fact that there would be gates put at the 4 entry points to that sort of network of roads. So it wasn't just the sort of main road around the back of the reservoirs, if you like. It was going up to Whitegates Road, etc. I spoke to Mr. Dolby earlier today to try and understand why the traffic management order wasn't, sorry if I called it the right thing, TRO or TMO, wasn't being used. And as he explained it to me, the issue was dealing with antisocial use of the 4x4s, and whereas the traffic order would prohibit all vehicular access, that's actually a more challenging thing to do, because there's obviously people who have a legitimate right to use a boat, as it's called, by way open to all traffic, as we know. And actually a public space protection order is a much quicker thing to implement, and it can last for up to 3 years, at which point it can be renewed. And by virtue of being a quick thing to implement, it seems like quite a good solution to almost test. And then if it's found that that is unsuccessful and more action needs to be taken, then the council would look at whether something more onerous like the TRO would need to be brought in. So from my point of view, I think there's 2 things. One is the maintenance of the road, and the other is the clearly unacceptable use of it. I must admit, from what was explained to me by the Kirklees officer, I think we should, as a parish council, support the active addressing of the issues by Kirklees and support them in taking this fairly immediate approach, and write to them expressing that, given the level of concern locally. Also encourage them to facilitate repairs as soon as they can. The indication from Mr. Dolby was that monies are limited, but he is Ramsden Road is very much high up on his list of places that he lobbies for money from the council, but clearly the council has to make its spending priorities according to need. So personally, I think we should support Kirklees' approach, but say we'll monitor the situation, because if it doesn't improve and we find over time that the problems continue, then we should push them to keep working at finding a long-term solution.
Councillor Pogson?
Yeah, just having cycled down there middle of last year and ultimately decided that I won't be cycling down there again, I can appreciate that it does need some, you can't get down on a, it is in a right state around there, the roads, and they're not fit for all users who would want to use them, whether it be cyclists, people on a bridleway, you know, in a horse or walking or whatever. You know, they have really messed up. I have concerns about people getting access who have legitimate right to be there. I believe that, you know, Kirklees' proposal with, you know, if we take on board what's gone on before has not worked and they've not got there with the TRO, if they say they can do quickly with the public, you know, prevention order, and they can get on board with that and they can implement that quicker and put that in place, it doesn't prevent at a later date, if it doesn't work, if it fails, coming back and going for a TRO. So I think we should encourage Kirklees to crack on as quick as they can with the, you know, whatever means they can put in place with the, you know, their plan of action, but also sort of tell them that, well, you know, we're minded to keep an eye on this, and it doesn't preclude us from pushing for a TRO at a later date if what they're proposing does not work.
I'd just like to say that there is obviously a massive problem with Ramsden Road, and it really welcome that, you know, the amount of effort and the passion that that people have brought to us, brought this issue to us. But it's also an issue on a number of other boats, and I was quite encouraged to see that locally, not in the national park. I was really encouraged to see that in one of the responses from Kirklees that this is being seen as a forerunner for action with some of the other roads which have been equally damaged and cut up, and perhaps don't have such you know, loyal and passionate supporters at this point. Councillor Dixon.
I totally agree. Michael's got it right. I think this is the only way forward, is to give Kirklees the opportunity to do something, but leave ourselves open to support this order if it needs to be put on. But if in the meantime we can keep monitoring the matter and keep up to date and keep in contact with the people involved, and then we will do all we can to support them. And I think I'll second Michael's suggestion that we leave it to Kirklees at this time to do their initial works, and then put this order on at after, if we don't seem to be getting any success from Kirklees Council.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dixon. Anybody else wish to speak? No. I think perhaps to maybe just to add to Councillor Boxon's statement, perhaps we should put a time scale on asking for a review or a report back.
Yeah.
Maybe in 6 months.
Should it be less?
Or should it be less? Why not? Yes.
I think 3 months is ample.
3 months. Right.
I think we do need to allow for the fact that I believe fabricating the gates is thought to take around 3 to 4 weeks. So 3 months from now might not be very long. I would suggest, and in order to bring the order in, so I would suggest maybe we say 4 months after the start of the order.
It's surprising what they can do if they're pushed to do it. I had action on the matter this weekend, and I was told it would take a fortnight. It's all being dealt with over the weekend. If people want to get something done, they can get it done.
So we've got a proposal there from Michael and seconded by Councillor Dixon. Would you like to restate it, Councillor Pogson?
That we support Kirklees in their current role, in their current plan of action, but with, you know, and we review that in 6 months' time from now, that it's that action is done and implemented, the gates in place and that order, you know, and there, but it doesn't preclude us from a later date from asking from a TRO if the proposed measures that they're proposing don't work and don't solve the problem.
Right. I
second it, Mary, in the first instance. But
you've already seconded it. Yeah.
The amount of time that Michael says 6 months, I've no confidence. It wants to be 3 months, and they want to be pressurised. Well, and I'm sorry, but I think 3 months is plenty long enough.
I second 6. I second 6 months.
We don't want to be on 6 months. That's giving them too much time.
I understand what you're saying. I second 6 months.
Right. Can you please go through the chair? Councillor Pogson?
Yeah. Going to procedural stuff now. If is that an amendment you've put forward to go to 3 months, Councillor Dixon?
I'm saying that, yes.
Yeah, yes.
I'm agreeing with your cause of action.
But you want to amend. You want to amend the proposal to make it 3 months rather than 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Dixon, as a compromise and save us going through and voting on amendments and voting on the main thing, would you accept 4 months?
Yes.
Right.
Right, I'll amend my proposal to 4 months.
Right. So are people happy to agree with the proposal from Councillor Popson with 4 months? Right. Thank you. I think that is unanimous.
Okay.
Right.
Can I just ask that we communicate that position to Kurt Lees?
Certainly.
We didn't actually say we were going to write a letter. We just said we were deciding.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we should communicate that to them.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Right. Back to the agenda, which is to item 140, confirm the minutes of the previous meeting. We happy to confirm that? Can you show of hands? Thank you. Minutes duly confirmed. Right. To note item 141, to note the list 2021-11 updated with the views of the committee. We noting that, to note that. Thank you. Right. So now we move into the new planning applications from Kirklees Council. List 2021-12.
Madam Chairman,
yes.
Could I at this juncture give Councillor Tom Dixon the opportunity to
declare yes.
Declare if he has something to declare.
An interest, yeah.
Anything to declare?
I've had a quick look through the plans, but are you going to tell me I've got something to declare?
Right, it's number 18.
Number 18, Thomas.
Number 18.
Right, I don't have my list on my screen at the moment. Which one's that?
Berry Green Barn, Rycroft Lane.
Oh, remember us? Yeah, okay. Right. Oh, I didn't realise you were putting plans in yet.
You didn't know it was doubling size of it?
Well, I knew we were doing something with it, but I didn't know you'd done it yet.
You don't look at your papers, do you?
A job to do.
Can we all be a bit disciplined and not have the family conversations? We've a lot of work to get through.
Apologies, Michael. Apologies, Michael.
Let's go. Right. So the first one, number 1, Dunhouse Windmill Lane, which is full stone. I don't know whether Tom had a chance to look at this.
Yeah, I've had a look at this one. It's out of the way. It shouldn't be any problem.
Yeah, and Councillor Hall was happy to go with them. Yeah, happy to go with that as well. I thought it was fine. So we support.
Yeah.
Go support. Right. Moving on. Right. The next one, which is Pat.
Yeah, I support that.
Right. I had a look at it too. I thought it was fine. Yeah.
Completely unremarkable.
Rich, yeah. Many of them are. Right. Now the next one, number 3, shouldn't have had at all because the certificate of lawfulness had already been granted for that one back on the 27th of November. So how that crept into the list, I've no idea. But obviously we don't need to consider that one. So that's one less. We'll be through it in 5 minutes at this rate. Right, number 4, which is a full stone one again, and Councillor Hall gave a kind of standard reply that she'd defer to Kirklees officers, didn't feel strongly about them. Tom, did you this one? Hillside, Cold Hill Lane.
Yeah, I know this one. I've walked up there numerous times.
Yeah,
it's on quite a big site. At the moment, it's just a small bungalow, which is it's not quite dilapidated, but it's a bit old-fashioned and that. So they want to make it a bit bigger and build a higher up on it as well. Like I say, it's quite a big space. It's on a big site, so I think it should be okay.
Yes, I thought it was fine. It's more like a new build almost, complete reconstruction rather than extensions and alterations. But it seemed okay given its site. So are we happy with that? We accept that one, support that one. Thank you. Thanks. Right. Right. Next one's ours, Paul.
I don't see there'll be a problem with that. Have you any problem with it, Mary?
No. It was one of these where there were quite a few of these where there actually wasn't much detail, was there? It's like a full width rear extension, and I don't know. I just had a query about a tree. It's mentioned as a small tree in the application, but actually looking at the looking at the plans, it looked like quite a large tree with a largish canopy, but I don't have any strong feelings about it. Did anybody else?
There's not going to be a problem. It's if the tree may have to make way for the extension. But if they're going to build over the canopy or the footprint of a tree, that's their stupidity for doing so. You can do work over the roots, but they could still come through at a later date. I don't think they can stop it. So I think that's entirely at the applicant's view, and I would recommend we see it through.
Did anybody else have a look? Yeah, seem to be nodding. Okay, let's support that one then. Okay, thank you. Right. Number six, two wood side view. It's sticking sticking a second floor home office. It's interesting. There are quite a lot of home working applications beginning to come through now, aren't there? So it was sticking an office on top of a garage. Yes, Bernie, Councillor Feeney has said that she would support it. I don't know whether Rachel, did you?
I had a look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit. It'll look a bit odd, but to be honest, that street sort of goes so steep. I think I can't really see a reason to object to it, to be honest. And because the hillside goes up so steeply behind it, you'll probably see the top of it from the houses the other side of the field. But I think it will be fine.
Right. Okay. Councillor Dixon, Paul?
I think when this property was built, like a lot more by the same builder, he left the opportunity for people to have garages built, and then garages that were capable of having a bedroom or, as in this case, an office over. And I think it's an application we're going to see a lot more of. And the properties that were built by that particular builder all gave the opportunity for people to enhance their properties. And this is one instance, and I think it's got to be there, hasn't it?
Right, so support, everybody? Yeah, support. Thank you. Right. Number 7. It's Councillor Pogson's.
Yeah, I've had a look at it. I have no problems with it. It's sort of like a conservatory's coming down and then an extension's going up. It looks fine to me.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine too. Okay, we're happy with that one. Yeah, thank you. Number 8, which is another Scholes one. Paul, it's 51 right.
It's only going to be small single-story extension by the look of it. It's just single story. This may again be somebody that's making himself an office. We don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was. I couldn't see any difficulties with it.
There's no problem with it.
Okay, so support. And right, the next one is a full stone one again. Again, Councillor Hall. No strong feeling about it. Environmental health have imposed a number of conditions. Tom, did you have a chance to look at this one or not? Number 9.
Yeah, it's just next to where the old land charity site was, and the corner. If my dad doesn't know, just past where the sale room is, on the corner there.
On the corner.
Yeah, the corner plot. Do you know the corner plot before you get to where the older car parking space was?
Yes.
It's all brambles and that, and going down that hill there.
It's not on Penistone Road. It's behind the houses, is it?
Yeah, behind the houses there.
It's not fit to build on. We've refused it before.
Sorry.
We've refused it before. If it's the piece between the houses that we built on the land charity land and Church Street, it's that little quarry that's there, and it's not capable of being developed.
Well, evidently they must think it is. I mean, it's a really.
It was refused before, Mary.
It's a really complex building, isn't it? Sorry.
It was refused about 3 or 4 years ago before we got ours passed, and it was refused then. It was inadequate. The site wasn't good enough because it falls away too quickly. There's not a great deal of room to build on. I mean, the majority of it will drop down a real big bank inside, and I don't think it's capable of being developed.
Well, the architect engineers evidently think they can do it, but it is a really complex plan. You know, just struggle to understand it because of the steep fall at that point. And there's a neighbour, well, environmental health, a number of conditions, and then neighbourhoods. Sorry, some of the neighbours were saying there were parking problems and inaccuracies in the application.
Yeah.
But the parking problems seem to be most of
There's no way. There won't be anywhere to park on it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is one where we defer to Kirklees officers. Is it because of the complexity of the build?
I would be happy to say refuse it as it's inadequate. It's inadequate as a site.
Did we get any correspondence from the ward councillor from a die on this one?
She just gave a blanket statement, which is always to say support Kirklees officers. So right. I'm kind of minded to go with that in this case. Well, I suppose building techniques are developing all the time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you do see all these engineering solutions and they're able to do things, and they're able to cram things into small spaces now and do these things. This is the kind of thing I can see Kirklees passing. And I won't say I'm overly for or against it. It's right on the corner where it's going to be. But the access to the garage bit is going to be off Church Street, which isn't ideal either. But Church Street's quite a bit quieter. It's steep. But if you're going straight and you're turning right there, it's a difficult one. I can't see... Yeah.
The problem with Church Street is that all down one side of the road is parked with cars, and it's going to be where this access is going to be.
No,
so you're going to be taking you're going to be taking away the place where one car would normally park for the houses that are across the road in order to get this access. And when it comes out, it's going to be right into the middle of the road because there'll be cars at either side of this access, and that will be totally.
I think access is going to be a problem, but if I recollect correctly, it's pedestrian access off Church Street, and then it's the vehicle access is off. Is it still Suit Hill, the road that goes down to the main road? We can't spend hours on this. Have you got your hand up?
I did, yeah. It's the vehicle access is off Church Street. It's quite clear on the location plan.
Yeah, there's already an access in there at that part of it.
All right.
We're right at the bottom.
Just above where them houses are on the main road. There's a little access point.
Right. Councillor Hogley, Rachel.
Yeah, why don't we just say concerned about complexity on the site and implications for vehicle access to narrow Church Street due to existing cars or something, and then say support Kirklees decision.
Yep. Okay.
Could we not say we are aware this was previously refused, and is this application? And our view, my view is it's no better.
Yeah, I think if Rich could pass on them comments as well, that would be good as well. Like it was refused previously. Is this have the conditions been met? I don't think they have.
Well, there's details of that in the document. To be fair, it says that the appeal was dismissed because the principle of development was found to be acceptable, but the key reason for refusal was the adverse impact on the other properties.
Yeah,
I think we should just go with what I proposed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So concerned about the complexity of the site and the vehicular access, and defer to Kirklees officers. Right. Moving on to number 10. Variation of condition, which is around the windows. Rachel.
They're pretty minor changes. I thought it looked fine. I'd support it.
Yep. Me too. Okay. Yep. Support. Thank you. And right.
Number 11 is quite.
Yes.
It's. I. Excuse me. You may have noticed I'm coughing. It appears it's enormous. But I mean, I'm not very good at estimating square footage and whatnot, but it looks like more than 10% to me. I mean, if it isn't, it's fine. But if an enormous amount they're adding on to this little house.
Yes, I had a look at it, and I was a bit concerned, really. I was wondering if there might be one we might actually oppose, because as far as I can see, it is a huge extension, and it's very, very close to the boundary, and it cuts off access to the garage. So the garage will be kind of marooned. The only access to the garage is going to be through the building. There doesn't seem to be any way of getting down the side of the house towards the back. So it just seems like overdevelopment of the site. Just, I don't. Did anybody else?
Is there a parking problem? Is there a problem with parking there?
Not especially.
No, I don't
If you
think
can't get into the garage, is there going to be enough adequate car park left?
Yeah,
on
I
site?
think so. Believe me, Paul, parking is the least of the things that is odd about this application.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted a reason for refusal.
No, I don't think parking would be an issue. It's not a difficult road, and there's plenty of space. And
all right. Sorry, Rachel, been waiting.
Can't we just say object on the basis of size of extension relative to existing dwelling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They appear to be turning a cottage into a stately home.
People like to do that.
Which I would if I had loads of money, let's face it.
Having to buy another, don't it?
I think people have got a lot of time in lockdown to think about.
We could do this and we could do that, and
too much time. Right, number 12, Brockles, Councillor Popson.
Number 12, yeah, Tobermory. I mean, this is quite a substantial extension, but on a substantial property, and it sits in its own grounds. I don't think it's overbearing on any of the neighbouring properties, and I'm quite happy to support.
Okay, yep, fine, be happy. Sorry, I've realised we've stopped voting, but I'm not sure. Do we have to vote on each?
Yes, we do.
I think we do, because we come to different conclusions, so we don't have to vote.
Yeah, so I can't vote collectively on the end. Anyway, hold me to it then. Right. Number 13. Oh, this is one where I know the owners slightly, so I won't speak. Right. Okay. It's yours anyway, isn't it, Tom? It's Hepworth.
You're on mute, Tom.
Mount View Road, isn't it? Yeah.
Pardon?
Are we on number 13?
Yes.
We're on number 13. Yeah.
This one, it's just an extension. It's just over the top of something there at the moment. It's no impact really. I think it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. You happy? Yes, about that one. Right. Thank you. Thanks. Right, now this next one, number 14, has been the subject, the object of quite a lot of negative comment from neighbours. I think there's one already on the website, but we've also had, and you should have seen, we've had two emails directly to the parish council objecting to this. Mostly the inaccuracies about the objections are about the smell, about the inaccuracy of the plans, about the noise, about the fact that this is not an agricultural building, not an agricultural holding, is Oakley. So is that Councillor Pogson?
I'll wait till the councillor for that area. I will chip in, but I'll wait till the councillor for that area is spoken first.
Councillor Paul.
You want me to speak, dear?
We seem to.
Well, the consideration is that if it's small, it's acceptable because it's a small holding. They only have one field there. I think that bungalow was sold sometime last year. I can understand people wanting to build buildings for livestock. If it had been horses, they probably wouldn't have complained, but because it's cows, they complain of the smell. I'm not in favour of this because I don't think the area of land there necessitates something as big as this. If it was possibly half the size, I would be in favour. They've built it in a position where it's not in front of their house, in front of somebody else's. That's causing problems for the neighbours. But the smell of cows, if you don't want the smell of cows, you don't move into the countryside. And I'll be quite honest. there is a lot of E. coli up there anyway. So for those that don't know, E. coli, otherwise known as bull. Yes. Right. My view is that we refuse it and it's too big. The materials, I think what people are thinking are the materials making it too warm and too snug for these animals, and that it's likely to have somebody living in it before.
So we're objecting.
My view is that it isn't appropriate, and it isn't. I don't think if you've not got, is it a hectare of land, you can't build something. I don't know how it works, but there are limits, and I think.
So we're objecting. I mean, Kirklees Environmental Health objected to the noise and the smell, and the fact it was too close to another residential property.
Yeah.
Shall we object on those grounds and query the size?
I think
Yes, okay.
Michael wanted to speak, I think.
Oh, he did. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, you know, that the location of it, you know, it will be one of those things that goes one way or the other. The planners would generally like the buildings together, so they would like the buildings nearer to the other properties because it's sort of. But I think from the neighbours and from an environmental point of view, you'd want the building as far away from other sensitive property owners. You'd want it right at the other end so you don't get the noise and the smells. I think the argument that it isn't agricultural land, but they do keep a few sheep a few times a year and they keep some horses on it, I think undermines itself. I think it's a field. You can use it for agriculture, can't you? You could plough it up and plant turnips if you wanted, couldn't you? Oh. So I don't think that argument falls down, but I think we should, you know, if they'd have stuck it as far away from anybody else as they could, so you didn't have the smells and the noise, then it would be a different thing. But I think due to its site, so close to residential properties, I think we should, you know, refuse it on those grounds of, and what it might be in the future is not the application in front of us. No. So I think we should refuse it on the grounds of detrimental to the amenity of the nearby residential properties by way of noise nuisance and odour nuisance.
If the application for the building had been at the other side of the field, more on the front of their properties, that would have been nearer to the house, like Michael said, and it would have been them that would have the objection, not the other way around. So I think by building it where they're building it, it's causing problems for the neighbours, whereas if at the other side, it wouldn't. Right,
okay. We happy with that then? We're objecting, and yeah, on the grounds of destroying people's immunity. Moving on to number 15, which is at Upper Home Valley. Now with Councillor Kath Bellamy said she was happy with all three applications in Upper Home Valley. So did you have a chance to look at it, Rachel?
Yeah, I had a quick look. I think it looks fine. There were some comments from Highways, I think, about the retaining wall and need it all being too close to the wall, which could be addressed with conditions. So there's no reason to object to it.
Yeah. Okay, so I support this one. Support. Yep. Thank you. Way through, approx. Right. Moving on to number 16, which is, and I assume it's Rich put this comment on. We need to comment immediately because the deadline has passed. So this is the Fullstone one. So Councillor Hall is okay with it. Right, so this is the Springwood House at the bottom of Butterley Lane. So Springwood House and the Coach House there have been quite substantially developed recently, and this is on a plot which is, last time I walked past, looked a terrible mess. So anybody, did you have a look, Tom?
Yeah, I've had a look. It's quite a big plot, and they're looking to build a big house in the garden space that they've got for it. I don't know what we could really refuse it for. I don't think there's much going against it. It's a big enough space for it. It's a big house they wanting to put there, but that's what they want to do. I don't think there's any planning reason to reject it.
There was some of the neighbours in the Coach House were complaining about being the sighting of the windows, but actually when I looked at the plan, the windows are actually there's some distance, probably in the required distance away from the Coach House. Sorry, Rachel.
Well, I was going to suggest we just highlight the concerns of the neighbours about overlooking and the height of the building.
The
And then defer it to the Kirklees officers, but say we want those concerns addressed.
The one about the height is interesting though, because they were saying 4 floors is too high and couldn't part of it be underground. Well, part of it is underground, but they haven't looked at the plan. They just don't want it there.
Right. So we're happy to go with Rachel's suggestion that we defer to Kirklees council officers, but highlight the concerns of the neighbours about overlooking and the height. Yeah. Okay. And the next one, number 17, Upper Home Valley. Again, Councillor Kath Bellamy has said it's okay. Quite a lot of work, really.
Yeah, I think it looks fine. Other people have done that and squeezed garages in.
Yeah. Okay. So support. Happy to support this one? Yeah. Right. Right. Now the next one is Berry Green Barn. So we're going to be very short of people to talk, aren't we? Because I think both the Dixons are ruled out from this one. And as I know, I suppose I should be ruled out as well. Anyway, let's yeah. Can I just ask, either Councillor Dixon, the bits that come out, are they like buttresses, you know, from the original building? Yeah. Yes, yeah. Because I thought they must be. Couldn't work them out. So it's almost like building another house behind. Well, it's not quite as long.
I don't know. I've not seen his plans, so I don't know.
You've not seen the plans, right? Yeah, yeah. So this is certainly a Scholes one. It's not on First Central. I mean, I don't know if anybody else looked before I say anything.
I had a look.
Yes.
I thought it looked all right.
Right. Thank you. Councillor
Yeah, very
Thompson.
much stands in its own land, in its own plot. You know, I don't think it imposes on any of the neighbours or impacts on any of the nearby properties. So I'm quite, and it's at the rear of the property. I'm quite happy to support.
Yeah, I thought make a really interesting house. Yeah, I thought it was fine actually. So we're saying support. Support. Good. Okay.
The only comment I'll make, Mary, you must have too much money if you can afford to do it.
Oh.
Sounds like a good investment to me, Mr. Dixon.
I want to know where he's getting his brass from. He's taking it out of my pocket.
Right. Moving on. Number 19. There's a full stone one. So Dye is okay. Castle Hall is okay with this one. Single story extension and a carport. Are people happy with that? Nobody else have a look at it? We just see. It looks fine. Okay. Support. And number 20. This is an interesting one. This is the high level decking at the back of Dover Cottages, and there's a neighbour objection obstructing a right of way for somebody to access their garden at number 1. So I don't know. I don't know. Rachel, did you?
Yeah, I couldn't really understand where the right of way. I couldn't really get my head around the plans, to be honest, and exactly what the problem was the neighbour raised. So I would say we defer to Kirklees officer, but I like the fact that there's a neighbour's concern. I think there were 2 concerns, weren't there, about the access, but also any overlooking that was raised somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
So I think we just need to raise those issues, but I can't see a reason to object to it. But I can't confidently say it's the right thing to do.
I felt it was one way you really needed
we've no problem if it doesn't restrict a right of way. If it's blocking a right of way, we refuse it. But it's not for us to do that. It's for Kirklees, because you can put applications in other people's property. So
I
think it's up to the legal department in Kirklees to decide whether it's blocking the right of way or not. Not our problem.
Yes, Councillor
I have kind of issues with the overlooking, because looking at this is like a first floor level decking area. Yeah. Now I don't know which ways those properties are arranged, but if your bedroom's on the first floor, your neighbours a bit of look straight into your bedroom, wouldn't they?
Mm.
When they sat out on the decking of an evening, they'd be able to look into your.
Good
Hiya, you
idea.
need to draw your curtains, love. I can, you know. So if we were concerned about a property built alongside it, which was overlooking it, I think we have to sort of like have a concern that your neighbour's decking's overlooking into your bedroom of the next property. So I kind of do have a concern from that point of view. Just look, you know, we're quite happy to comment overlooking from a property next door. Why are we not concerned someone's sort of like sat on the decking next door to your
but it is really one where you had to go and actually have a look, because looking at the plans, there's kind of bedding. There's it's not unlike the situation just here that there are people have cultivated. I don't know how they access it, but they've cultivated the land opposite, which is at first floor level. I couldn't. It was difficult to understand.
I think there's one thing is sort of like cultivating land that's on eye level, at that level, the land that's already there. The other thing is building a platform of that height. So
They could be both a pleasure, Michael.
So you can't
especially the
that you can sit on your lawn.
Well, no,
I think it was the telescope that really put the tin hat on it, wasn't it?
No. I think if you buy a house, and it's got a banking across from you, you know that banking's there. If you buy a house and then your neighbour builds a platform to look into your bedroom, you go, hang on a minute, have you got planning permission for that platform to look into my house?
Yeah.
I think one would need planning permission, one doesn't, and we're looking at planning consent here, aren't we?
So do we wish to change our the decision we're kind of moving towards, which was to defer to Kirklees officers, but highlight the concerns of neighbours around access and overlooking?
Yeah.
Would you accept that, Michael, or do you wanting to object?
Well, it's democracy, it's a vote in it. I would probably object, but I mean, if I get outvoted, I got outvoted.
Are we happy with that? Yes. Do you move on?
If Michael's objection is that, does he want it refused?
I would refuse it with
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just quick. We need to get moving.
I'm happy to second Michael on that if he
Okay.
wishes
So
to.
how many people want to go to a straight object then? 2, 3, 4. Okay, right. We go to a straight object. For those reasons, yeah. Thanks. Object. That's democracy working, right? Number 21, Oakfield on Cooper Lane, within a conservation area. It's Rachel's. It's Home First Central.
Yeah, this one was sort of a first floor extension and a link to the main house. I thought it was generally all right. I didn't make any specific notes about it being of concern.
I had a look. I thought it was okay. So should we say support? Support. Happy? Yep. Thank you. Right. Number 22, 77 Hauling Lane, Homley. That's one for you.
I thought it was fine. There was quite a lot of neighbour objection, but some of them were one was saying there's too much hard standing and will get flooded, but in the plan it said they're happy to use resin or blocking or whatever, so they're open to porous hard standing. And they were objecting to a flat roof, I think because it would leak, and I thought, well, that's not your problem. And basically they were objecting because it doesn't look like the other houses around it. And the other houses around it are a mixture of sort of 60s and 70s, perfectly fine, unremarkable. This is a much more modern design, and they simply don't like it. And I think it's rather nice. It is different from the others. That's the way life is. More modern houses replace old houses. It happens all the time. These aren't, they're not of architectural significance or anything. They're just what they are, I think we should support it.
Right. Anybody else? Any views?
Also, it appears to be a slightly smaller footprint than the one they're demolishing.
Somebody must have a lot of money if they value a plot more than the value of a property.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say, Pat, is that they can't improve everything with newer models, and these houses, some of them, the new models, are totally inadequate and totally out of keeping. And if somebody builds one with a flat roof today, I think they're wrong in their head, and I don't think they should get a mortgage if they're wanting Flat roofs.
They
in
have
the
flat
scope of this
roofs in
committee.
Arctic
and they
Norway.
look totally out of character in an area
The
like
benefits
that.
of flat roofs are beyond the scope of this meeting. Can we move on with the business? now?
Absolutely, let's move on. Yes, I thought it looked a really interesting building, and I'm perfectly happy to support it. We will support it. Support. Yep. Okay. Thanks. And next one is it's Waldale, right? And we haven't got Councillor Gould. I had a look. I thought it was with minimal impact on the conservation area. Anybody else?
Yeah, it looks
I'm
fine.
not sure about this one, Mary, but I think when it was originally built, it was built as an agricultural dwelling, and it might have had an agricultural tie on it at some time. And I don't say that as any objection, but at the time I think they said it was too large for a farmer. That was a Kirklees comment of about 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know it. I walk past it often. It looks it looks fine to me. Councillor Pogson?
I think, yeah, I think we should approve pending decision of the conservation officer.
Yeah. Okay, support. Right. Yep. Right. We're all getting very lazy at this voting. Right. Thank you. So number 24. Right, this is an interesting one, I thought. Right. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I've just been looking at this one now. It's quite a lot to look at with it because it's huge. Well, it's a big building, what they're converting and what they're doing to it. And it's going to be, it's probably not going to change much on the footprint of the site because the site's already there. But this is it's a bit crazy. Like you've got a huge roof terrace and hot tub area and an upper viewing deck and bar. I'd love to live somewhere like that. It'd be amazing. But, it probably doesn't look too. I don't know if it's too out of keeping of what there is at the moment, because if they keep the original building and parts of it like they're talking about doing, it's a bit big and it's a bit crazy, but I don't think that's a reason to refuse it. Yeah. And there's plenty of parking with it and that.
I had a look at it. I thought it looked quite fun actually. I think they were making the most of the current style of the building and using that, but then obviously internally within the walls they were creating quite a great space with a hot tub and everything. So good luck to them. But from the point of view of what you can see from the street, I thought it was very sympathetically done in terms of what they're planning to convert industry into residential.
Yeah. Michael?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite a nice and ambitious kind of proposed development. My only real concern is that you're reducing industrial use, so employment land, and introducing it to residential. So that's my only real concern, is that reduction of in industrial for residential. It's as we've seen on other applications, you can build houses on practically anything. Residential quite steep faces, but large flattish areas for industrial are more harder to come back in these valleys, and we do need to employ people. So that's my only reservation. But with the application itself, I'm kind of okay with.
Paul, you want to speak? Are you voting?
Yeah, I'm speaking. The thing about up there is that most of the properties that we use for employment, Michael, are being developed into flats already. This is just a continuation of that, and it's just a shame that the whole of the area couldn't have been kept for workplaces and work people. And I think at this late stage, this is the end bit. This is the last bit.
The horse was bolted.
We may as well go with it rather than have something left that impacts on the rest of the community.
Right. So are we minded to support it? Support? Yep. Thank you. Right. Next one. Oh, there's no application form with this next one. Only four plans. Upper Holme Valley. I guess Councillor Kath Bellamy is okay with this. She's given a blanket okay for them all. Rachel.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine. It's just a balcony.
You too. Okay. Support.
Yeah, support.
It's pretty innocuous, I think. Right. 26 Rowan Drive. So You again, Rachel.
There's an extension above the garage. Again, I thought that looked fine. I would support it.
Madam Chairman, the only thing I would object to on things like this, Rowan Drive, when it was built, it was low-cost housing for young people. They're all putting big extensions on now and making them so that they aren't available for first-time buyers, and I think it's a bit of a disappointment that areas which were passed that were approved in the past are now becoming second homes rather than first homes.
It's because people are they're growing middle-aged and they're extending them now, aren't they?
They can't afford to move.
Yes, because they can't. Yeah. Right. So support. Sorry.
I think.
Sorry, Pat.
Councillor Dixon raises an important point. I mean, we have neighbourhood plans and
Yes,
we have
it does.
objectives and we have our own wish to make sure we continue to provide affordable housing. And I'm not sure what we can do, and it's certainly not for this meeting, but we might want to think about whether we can incorporate any sort of guideline into how favourably we would look upon this sort of application when it's removing it from a section of the population we want to provide for. It's not for this meeting, but it's something we might want to consider.
No, you're absolutely right, Pat. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of important issue there. Sorry, it feels like a really rushed process. Number 27, Judith Roberts, Councillor Roberts has said that this is okay. I had a look, I thought we should support it. Anybody else? Yep, support.
Madam Chairman, I don't know whether the other members of the committee know, but Judith Roberts became a grandma again over the weekend to 2 little girls.
Oh.
Son David's had twins, so if a letter could be sent or something just to say well done to David. David lives at the same address on the same farm as his mum, so if he wanted to address it to David, that'd be grand. I thought I'd just let you know.
Thank you. Thanks,
right.
Paul. Right, number 28, another of these homeworking ones in Wooldale, so we haven't got Darryl. I had a look. Did anybody else have a look?
Yeah, it looks fine, I thought.
Fine, yeah. Yep. All right, happy, support. Yep, thank you. And finally, another full stone one. So that's Die Hall thinks hasn't got any problems with it.
I don't think you can spoil it.
Plenty of space for it. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Nothing wrong.
No, you can't spoil that.
I thought it was okay. So right, let's all right, in favour, support. Right, thank you. I can't say I can't feel this is a good process. It's there were an awful lot of applications this time. So right, we have finished those new applications. Moving on to item 143, the planning officer's decisions. So well, you've seen the list, so a couple of times we supported something, they refused, so we just need to note how we do. We just need to note. Are you happy to note that list? Thank you. And then there's 144 is an appeal, planning application appeal. We submitted our views to a previous version. Don't know if you remember it. It was a kind of triangular shaped tiny space which was clad in zinc originally. Well, that's been changed. It's gone to stone, but it was still turned down by Kurt Lee.
Where's
the
application there?
It's in Underbank. Hello. So and it's I don't know if we want to make a comment or again. If we did, then because this is a listed building, this falls within our our new rubric of just sending a standard reply to any listed building applications.
I don't think we change our minds. We stick to our original one, and that be it.
Except it's changed material. I mean, certainly materially, because now what was zinc is now stone, and that was most of the basis of our objection last time. So
can I suggest we put welcome the change of materials, but but defer to the building for final decision.
Fine, let's do that. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Happy to do that. Right, 145 neighbourhood planning.
The only update on that is just we're waiting for Kirk Lees's advice on which independent examiner they wish to appoint, and we agreed at full council last week that we'd support whichever one of the 3 that have been put forward. So I'm just waiting for an update from Kirk Lees. Noted.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you. Peak District National Park Authority. We just to note the list 2021-06 PD updated with the view of the committee. Should we note that? Yeah. Thank you. And new and amended applications. We had 1 application which I don't know if people have any views on this.
I thought
sorry, let's go Pat first and then Paul. Sorry.
I thought it was fun. I mean, it's a new building and they want to close in a bit that's already a sort of terrace. It's not one of the, although the picture on Google Maps, you saw all old buildings. It was very misleading. It was built in the 80s and it's a modern Weaver's Cottage style. And it was, you know, an unremarkable desire to close in a terrace, really.
Paul?
Has it been withdrawn, this application?
No.
I think I saw something that been withdrawn.
No, not this one.
Oh, sorry.
No, not this one. No. Rachel?
I think there were some issues raised by a neighbour about overlooking concerns. So
yeah,
but otherwise I would support it.
But the terrace is already there, so I don't really see how closing it in will make it any more overlooked than it is already.
I think they'll stand longer because they're not standing outside. So shall we say support, but draw attention to the issue of the overlooking? Was a little hand there. Thank
that was
you.
A vote. It was an extra vote.
No. Should we? That's not what it was. Right. Let's decisions. Yeah. To note the number. Letter C, the list of decision notices. There was only one, and that was withdrawn. That's where the withdrawn comes from.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Right. And right. A massive item next, but we obviously haven't time to spend much time on it. So at last Monday at the full council meeting, we agreed to accept Rachel's strategic priorities, and I'm sure we looked at it and there's a massive number of tasks assigned to the planning committee, which is inevitable, I suppose. And we obviously, it's not really time to discuss it now, but I'm just going to suggest that maybe the way to make this a manageable task is for us to have a small group look in detail at Rachel's paper and the tasks assigned to this committee. Do people think that's a reasonable way ahead? I don't think we can discuss it formally in a committee. It have to be looked at in an informal session. So if I put that as a proposal, somebody second it? Wish to second it? Thank you, Tom. Yeah.
I was going to suggest, I mean, we are a small group, frankly, and that we could probably do a lot of this by email. Somebody could get together and say, you know, people who are willing to take part and say, you look at paragraph, you know, sections 1 to 5, you look at, you know, and do and then we might get away without an extraordinary meeting, or we might have a shorter extraordinary meeting.
Right. Well, I was thinking if we do have a small group, that actually most of their business would be conducted by email.
We are a small group.
Yeah.
I don't like emails. I think they're totally impersonal. I'd rather deal with things. Could we move it to the next meeting and make sure that we have sufficient time to give it half an hour rather than mess about now? If the items that we should be considering are sent to each individual councillor for them to go through it and have that and put their own opinions through at that time.
I mean, we keep deferring this, but
I'm not wanting to defer it. I'm wanting to proactively create something happening which can then be discussed, and as long as we've got sufficient time to do it, and we aren't having to be
Councillor
restricted.
Pogson?
I was going to plug in. I'm going to stop.
What are you doing, Michael?
I was going to,
He's
Sorry,
making,
I
he's
just had
making
to
a
put-
brew, it's all right.
I just had to plug myself in, or else I'd have disappeared.
okay.
I got the battery warning light on. Right. What I would. All right, I'll sort that out in a minute.
You're back with us.
My plug's hanging out the wall. No, what I was going to
Pardon?
what I was going to suggest is the next planning committee meeting is on the 8th of March, and there's not a meeting so far scheduled to take place after that. Could we not start at 6:30 like we have done with this one? Schedule the standard planning meeting to go on until 8 o'clock, and then have the meeting solely to discuss this item, 8 o'clock onwards, in the same way as we have a planning committee meeting, a staffing meeting after this one. So start half an hour earlier, get through it, and then stop the meeting as normal, but have then this specific item then from 8 o'clock onwards.
People happy with that?
What is Richard's view on that?
Happy with
Richard's
that
He's
going to,
suggestion?
got to do the meeting, hasn't he?
I don't have a problem with that.
right, if Richard's no problem, that's no problem, let's
We've
do
got a
that.
note saying we've got
No,
cast
hang
at 8
on, hang on, hang on.
got cast at 8
I
p.m.
know.
Liz is just communicating that it's cask at 8 o'clock.
Cask at 8 p.m. So we can't do that.
All right.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Right. Let's
My list of meetings is out of date.
I mean, I am keen that we get going on this. I mean, is there no buy-in for having a very small group to do some work to start with, and then bring it back to the meeting? But people happy to do that? Yeah. Can you just show me if you're happy to have it?
Okay. Can I just go with the
No,
second proposal?
I want to say something.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, Pat, and then Michael.
I don't think we can fit this into a normal planning committee. It's too long. It's too detailed. It deserves our detailed attention, and it needs an extraordinary meeting. However short, however much work we do in advance, it needs its own meeting, I think.
Right, Michael, and then Rachel.
Okay, so we can't have the meeting afterwards. We have the meeting beforehand from the planning meeting on the, what is it? It's not due to start 7, or is it going to start at 6:30, that one?
Right.
It would have started at 6:30, I'd imagine.
They'll be starting at 6:30, won't we?
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, if there's cask afterwards, it'll be 6:30.
Okay.
I think there's two things here. I think some work. Sorry, Rachel was.
Yeah,
Rachel.
I just think if we just come back and look at the entire document again, we will never do it in half an hour. We need to, I think a couple of councillors need to take away the action to segregate out the planning related things, and these aren't all things that we're going to go, well, hey, let's do this. There'll be some that are kind of, well, this would be something to look at in the future. This might be things that we could get other groups to do. They need to be grouped together into various themes, which then as a committee we can discuss, well, which are the priorities we want to push forward at the moment. We can't just take the whole plan and say, yeah, here we go, let's go with it. And I'm reticent to have extraordinary meetings. I think we should avoid them at all costs, really. We shouldn't need to have them. I must admit, I wasn't aware when I've obviously got an up-to-date, an out-of-date list of meetings.
Yeah, you're looking at the same one as me.
8th of March either. But because I thought we had it on the 22nd of March. So that seems surprising to me if we have 2 within 2 weeks. But anyway, but I would suggest we just have it as a half an hour item on the next planning meeting, but in advance of that. And I'm happy to work with a couple of other councillors just to put a shorter summary. So we've got maybe 2 slides to look at, all that information, to say these are the things that really we could maybe move forward with, because we need proposals to think about, not just sort of generic.
Okay. I'm happy to work on that.
Yes, I'm happy to work on that. So is that, gentlemen, are you all right if we three get on? If we three get on with it and produce something which are the basis for discussion and decisions and action.
No power ladies rule.
Well, just so you know, Paul, if we're going to do all the work, you have to vote. You have to vote in favour.
Can I? We're preciously near the end. I would like to move on swiftly to item 149. This footpath, the communication. About a footpath. I walked down this footpath. It is very close to my house yesterday, and I do think it's appalling. And I think there is water ingress from two properties, not just from the new property, which locally we call the community centre. So I just wonder if this is something we should pick up with Giles Cheatham's footpaths officer, because definitely there's been a channel dug at the bottom of the grounds of the new building. and it is channeling water, and it nearly came over the top of my boots, so it's impassable. And Kirklees had done a good job of clearing it, and it was impassable in the summer when I tried.
Yeah, am I correct in believing that
Michael.
this is flooded because the new property's been built and their drainage is draining down it? From what I've read.
It looks like that. There's been a channel dug.
Okay, and I believe that they've got no joy from the people's complaining, no joy from building regs, which I can kind of understand.
Yes.
I would refer this to environmental health, email Kevin Moore and ask them, can you look at this in the light of section 59 of the Buildings Act 1984, inadequate drainage to a property.
Right. Yes. Okay, brilliant.
Agreed.
Thank you. Specialist knowledge can do, isn't it? Wonderful. But maybe copy to Charles Cheetham in that case. Right. The last two are both noting, though we may have to come back to the last item, sure we will. So can we note the issue of the shop frontage, which has obviously moved on a bit, though I walked past it and it was looking terrible again, but it's closed at the moment. That's the one further along Huddersfield Road. And item 151, community infrastructure levy. This obviously has implications for the NDP and Kirklees' decision, though understandable to